Welcome to Home Ed Looks Like This. I'm Liz and I'm a mum of 4. I home educate in the UK and we've just been and started our not back to school shopping for Anthony because Nimue was at Forest School today. So we went out and I was noticing how very different ours looked to all the other parents out there. Looking at different departments in the shop and so on for some things even because our uniforms are very, very different because we don't have one. So whereas they're buying school shoes, I'm looking at wellies and walking boots. But yeah, it was a different experience, and that got me thinking about curriculums in the UK and how our education looks so different, and also the different options available to home educating parents. There are several curriculum options available that you can choose, several paths that you can go down if you're a home educator, and home education looks different for all families because we all do it to the bespoke needs of our children. So day to day, what home education looks like is very, very unique for each family. But I'm going to run you through the main home education philosophies. And the first one we'll cover is actually the national curriculum. And some parents do actually use the national curriculum when they home educate. On the gov.uk website, you can actually find lots of information on the curriculum, lots of links. There's resources that use the national curriculum that you can tie in with your subject learning, such as Twinkle. You've got books, libraries. There's also the Oak Academy online, which they really filled out a lot over lockdowns because obviously that gave a lot of parents who were doing learning at home for the first time lots of resources they could easily access. And we also use one called TES, and that's for the older ones for secondary learning onwards. So I'll be getting back into that with Anthony this September because he goes up to the equivalent of year 7 in the UK because he's now in the age bracket of 11 to 12. The beauty of home ed means that you can really personalise it. Even if you do follow the national curriculum, you can delve deeper into certain topics that you and your children are enjoying, or you can drop bits that aren't working for you. You can literally do your own thing. We use the national curriculum for the core subjects such as maths and English, and then the rest we tend to cover in some of the other options that I'll run through in a minute with you. When you home educate, you don't have to follow the national curriculum at all. You can completely pick it up and you can bin everything in the national curriculum. You don't have to stick to it, you don't have to follow it. As long as your child is receiving a full-time education, that education can be however your child best absorbs information and how they learn best, and in a learning environment conducive to their learning and their needs. And that's the beauty of home education. You tend to find a lot of families new to home ed will start off with the national curriculum, and then gradually as time goes on and they've observed the child learning, they get to know the child learning styles more, they will then delve deeper into other options and start to branch out a bit. Number 2. And now we're on to unit studies. Now this is one of my favourite methods of home education. I use this an awful lot with my children. I actually have a full vlog on this where I go into unit studies and how I put them together on our YouTube channel. So head over there if you want more information on unit studies and how I construct them for different age groups and different topics. So unit studies will be based around a topic, for instance ancient Egypt or ancient Greece. We did one around Halloween and we had all sorts of crazy experiments going on to incorporate the science. But basically what you do is you pick a topic like that and then you build your subject matters around it. So you'll incorporate maths, English, science, history, geography. You literally incorporate it all into that one unit study, and the children don't realise that they're getting them key core subjects covered while they're studying something that they're actually enjoying and wanting to learn about. So we've covered everything from snow dogs, and I've had them doing maths related to that and they've not even realised. Unit studies provide a real flexibility for that, and they also allow you to tailor the learning experience to your child's needs. Another thing that's really attractive about home education to a lot of parents is the ability to learn with your child. If you don't know something, learn it with them, learn it together. Children actually enjoy that. They respond more when you sat down discovering things together, researching things together. Now, a lot of home education, homeschooling blogs focus on religion. However, they can provide some really interesting curriculum options if you're into following a set curriculum. The most common are Christian-based. However, we are seeing more and more now of other religious curriculums popping up. So you can get ones with Muslim leanings, you can get ones that focus around paganism, following the wheel of the year. But I find that any you can take and you can really incorporate it into your own. So I teach about world religions, all religions. And I teach it from a point of education. And I let them make their own mind up, and we'll teach about it all equally. And I'll incorporate activities. So if we're doing about the wheel of the year, we'll incorporate activities relating to that. If we're learning about Christianity, I'll have other little activities relating to that. If we're learning about one of the Muslim festivals or celebrations, we'll incorporate stuff in that. And we'll also incorporate it all into unit studies too. For instance, you'll see one of the videos on my YouTube of our Diwali celebrations and what we got up to with the children then, activity-wise and education-wise. I will sometimes be a little bit cheeky and access these religious curriculums because they do have great worksheets sometimes, they do have great activities, and they do have great kits, and you can transfer them to non-religious RE teaching. The next one is Charlotte Mason, and now most of you have probably heard of Charlotte Mason. Charlotte Mason's philosophy includes lots of living books, living history, nature, experience in nature. It is quite Christian based, but I find you can easily change any of them activities over to the Wheel of the Year or to a non-denominational activity. The beauty of Charlotte Mason is the fact after decades of study, she felt that children of a primary, junior and infant age thrive better in a learning environment where they studied or learned in 15-minute bursts. So 15 minutes of sit down learning or working together as a family, studying together as a family, and then a bit of a break where they can have free time, and then a bit more in another 15-minute block, and so on. She tends to advocate that the majority of the time is spent outdoors, learning through play, exploring nature with children, getting to know the world around you, lots of practical activities, lots of reading together with a heavy focus on art. When children get to high school age, that naturally then increases the time slot. This method of learning or educational philosophy is becoming widely popular in America, and it is starting to over here in the UK too, so it is something you will come across. It is an absolutely beautiful and stunning curriculum and worth a look at. And it can also be adapted for any philosophy or path or however you teach or work with your children in your home ed journey. And it can be adapted to suit all educational philosophy, so you can fit it in with your own. So Charlotte Mason can be adapted for any family learning journey. You can incorporate it to your own, however that looks for you and however that works for you and your family. And that is the beauty of Charlotte Mason, I think. We do incorporate little bits of it. We do lots of nature play, lots of art. But again, that ties in with one of the other ones that I'm about to cover with you as well. The next one is the Montessori way of life. There's lots of these, honestly, and I'm just covering the key core ones that are generally discussed within the home education communities here. So Montessori is a very child-focused learning system. It's based off decades of studies to discover how children learn best, which was actually by an Italian lady. And it's all about order, child-friendly learning spaces, environments that are conducive to learning for your child, inviting them to learn. Just something that invites and encourages the want to learn. There's a heavy focus on life skills, encouraging children to be independent from a young age. For instance, we do incorporate a lot of this without realising half the time, because we'll have Nimue cooking and she's only 6 and she's been doing that since she was 4. Tidying up around the house, tidying up after themselves really more than anything. Like, we help with that, obviously. Yeah, little things like that, learning how to cut fruit and veg at a young age, learn how to make soups, foraging, all that would tie in quite readily with the Montessori way of life. It's a very child-led approach, and the goal is to cultivate a natural love of learning. With Montessori, the parent primarily just supports the child's learning journey. There's an interaction, but it's very much on the child's terms. If you watch a lot of home educators or homeschoolers, you will notice that the Montessori ones always have amazing educational spaces set out in the homes that are beautiful. I wish I honestly had the space for that here. And the idea is that these rooms are all set up ideally for your child's age, development, progress, height, so that they can express their independence. It advocates learning from birth, but they do that through learning through play. And I think a lot of parents do that instinctively anyway, without even realising they're doing that. One famous saying that always stuck out in my head was, "Help me to help myself." So the idea is that you only step in when the child really, really needs that help. Up until that point, you let them try and work it out for themselves, and that creative thinking, that process problem solving, you help them build them skills up as a result. The initial premise is to observe the child, see what interests your child, and then follow and guide them through the process of learning. For that, you're more a facilitator than an educator in the Montessori way. It just means that no unnecessary aid is given, and children are free to learn for themselves within safe boundaries, because obviously you are always there to watch. And then you have world schooling. Now this is one of my favourites, and I wish I could do it. If I could take off tomorrow, I would, but my health problems prevent us from being able to embark on that currently. I would absolutely love to world school. I really would. This involves learning through experience, because you're travelling around different countries in the world, you're learning about the cultures in a hands-on, direct manner. I live vicariously through my friend Nadia. But you can also travel in this country too, and we do a lot of that. We will just go travelling for a few weeks at a time, experience various parts of the UK, and incorporate that into my children's learning journey. World schooling or road schooling, depending on the options you do as your family, can actually help bring learning to life, because you're going around all these wonderful places, soaking up all that culture, all that history, and the kids are getting to do it very, very hands-on. And obviously we all know that children learn best through hands-on learning. They learn best through play and direct experience, which home ed is essentially all about. The next one is autonomous learning. This can sometimes be referred to as unschooling, and is a very child-led approach again. It's about going at your own child's pace and trusting them to learn what they need to know when they need to know it. It also recognises that children learn what they're exposed to. So parents who watch documentaries will have children who watch documentaries, parents who sit there and read, children will mimic that, and so on. The UK LEA don't tend to like unschooling, so I would never use that term if you're an unschooler. I'd be very careful about using that terminology. However, the philosophy itself does have merit, and it does yield some very positive results. Studies actually show that they have a high success rate later in life as well. Now, we do incorporate some aspects of autonomous learning, in the respect that we'll let them pick certain topics, certain day trips and stuff like that, certain things they want to learn about, kits they want to build, all things like that really. So we do a lot of child-led learning. My son's autism and ASD means that we do better with a little bit of structure. He needs to know what he's doing when he's doing it, otherwise he gets really stressed out, really anxious. So sometimes we'll put free time down on a schedule, because each day I'll write down what we're going to do that day, so he's got it in front of them in his head, and he can see what he's doing for that day, and then I'll have free time on there, and that's when he can do his autonomous learning. So he'll usually take himself off, watch videos on reptiles, he'll watch documentaries, and he'll just research everything. Sometimes he'll even carry on doing the project we were doing. It's literally up to him, but in that free time he knows he can spend that how he wants, and that may just be reading a book, or it could be downtime depending on how intensive his prior learning was. He may need that time just to de-assimilate and process. And then you get to the eclectic homeschoolers, home educators, and that is where we fit in more as a family unit. Eclectic home education is pretty much self-explanatory. It's where you tend to take little bits from every philosophy out there and merge it into your own and what that looks like and works for as you as a family. So here we do use the national curriculum for core subjects, science, math and English. We do unit studies, we do child-led and autonomous learning, we do sit-down structured learning, we get out there and about and experience the world. We literally combine all of it together as eclectic home educators. So one week will look very different to the next week, and you never really get 2 days the same either as a result. We do spend a lot of time outdoors, and we focus on a lot of outdoor survival skills as well, such as bushcraft lessons, cooking over a fire, chopping wood, that kind of thing, building bivvy shelters. We do all that. As a family, we also do a lot of living history events. So we go there, we do displays for the public, the kids get all involved as well. And it's great fun. There's a big team of us that do it, and we're actually based in the northeast, but we do travel a little bit further afield now and again. Give us a little check out, Historical Living Company. And I have found that involvement in the historical living events and the company itself, we all camp together as well. Our children have all grown up together. The kids really get involved. It's really, really helped them to absorb the historical learning. Like, I think my 6-year-old could probably sit down and answer most questions on a GCSE history paper. And it's because it's all been brought to life with it. Honestly, it's unbelievable. It's just brilliant. It just brings it all to life for them, ties it all in. She can do Nordic braiding, she can do tablet weaving, she's done a bit of blacksmithing, she can build a fire and cook over it. There's just so many skills out there that she's learned through these experiences she gets as a result of being home educated. All of this combined, I feel, gives my children a well-rounded full-time education. We are always learning, always doing something educational. Even if it's fun, we will incorporate it in. And we also incorporate a lot of game schooling in as well. And I'll probably do another little vlog on that properly. There's so many out there that you incorporate. We love the Orchid Learning, Ravensburger games and so on, really. We do loosely follow the school holiday dates in the UK. However, that's when we tend to travel school. So we'll just go around in the caravan, different places, and experience different things in between events that we're doing. And the children will just have a brilliant time. Just going different places right the way through the summer. This year, I think the favourite was the puzzling place. They absolutely loved that place. We can be quite structured at times. Like, obviously, Anthony's now going into year 7. And that's this September. So obviously he's going to be required to do a lot more focused learning in that respect, keeping in mind his ASD and where his needs are there. His tics are quite bad at the minute. He's just been diagnosed with Tourette's as well. So yeah, it's all fun and games, yeah. But yeah, so he's going to need to do a lot more study time like that. So while Nim's at forest school and out of the house, and then she does climbing on a Friday as well, which Anthony doesn't really enjoy, so she does that on her own too. So Wednesdays and Fridays are really days where I get one-on-one time with Anthony to sit down and focus on what he needs to do at that KS3 level. And then the rest of the time I try and pick topics that they can do together and learn together and work together on. My older 2 are now at university and college, so obviously their learning is now out of my hands. They're in charge of their own learning journey 100% now, which obviously they enjoy. So I'm just focusing on my soon-to-be 12-year-old, it's his birthday next week, and my 6-year-old for now this year. But I've always had big age gaps, as you can see, in my home education journey. And if you head to YouTube, you will see a lot of videos of how I balanced it out between the older ones when they were doing KS3 and KS4, and the younger ones doing KS2 and KS1 work, and how I made that work for us as a family. So yeah, you can head over to YouTube and you can see that there. They're all the past videos. This year, most of my vlogs are going to be focusing on the younger 2 now. Obviously, the older 2 will still be in like wider family vlogs and so on, really, and they join in all the living history stuff too. However, primarily our videos are now going to be focusing on the younger 2. Right, well, I hope this has been useful for you. Any questions, pop them in for me and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.